Так, все... Что?
Застегнуть button up.
Мне без разницы.
Yeah. Well, I want to start first of all with the news. How has it been perceived here, and what is your take on U.S. government's position, reaction to the news on the weekend's airstrikes?
Well, first of all, President Obama said that Israel has a right to defend itself, and we know that Hezbollah is a terrorist organization that was involved in rocket attacks on Israel in the past. Over 200 people were killed in those attacks and in other terrorist activities. And also Hezbollah is the regional ally of Iran. It's a long hand of Iran in Eastern Mediterranean, in the Levant. Secondly, Hezbollah and the Syrian regime are working together to kill those opposition militias that are fighting the Syrian government. So there is a very complex situation. The US and the Europeans and the Sunni Arab countries, strangely enough, did not really condemn the Israeli action, if it's indeed Israeli action. Israel didn't confirm it. The ones who did condemn were the Egyptians, and it is extremely hypocritical because the Egyptian government, the Muslim Brotherhood government, of course, is supporting the Sunni Muslim Brotherhood that is fighting the Assad regime in Syria. Now, of course, any attack like that increases the chances of a broader regional war, of a conflagration. The Iranians are extremely unhappy, but the Iranians have presidential elections in about a month, and they are probably unlikely right now to go to war. What happens after the presidential election is anyone's guess, because the big concern, of course, with Iran is their nuclear program. And I think what Israel did also is to signal to Iran that just as we could deliver a strong strike against the Syrians when we Israelis thought that our interests are endangered and the Iranian missiles can go to Hezbollah, we, in the same way, can deliver a strike against Iran.
Mr. Cohen, I want to step back and go back to the United States reaction or position. I mean, how do you interpret that in the government, White House, and the government saying that we stand by our allies, but they do not go any further? Is the U.S. willing actually to be aligned with this airstrike, to be engaged in whatever is going on?
Well, first of all, the Israeli security calculus and the American security calculus is different. Israel is in the region, it's in the range of these rockets. The United States is not. But the priority for the United States right now is to put as much pressure on the Syrian regime as possible. And here are the strange bedfellows. The Sunni militias in Syria that are supported by Saudi Arabia, that supports the more radical Salafi types like the Al-Nusra Front, the Qataris who are supporting maybe less extremist but still Islamist militias, Turks that are also supporting Sunni militias, and now Israelis that feel that the Assad regime is endangering their security by transferring these rockets to Hezbollah. On the other side is Iran that supports Syria, Russia, China, and the Shia population of Iraq that also supports the Assad regime. And we heard about the reports that Iran is designing this 150,000 strong force to be put in Syria that will include Iranians, Hezbollah, and people from Iraq to protect the Assad regime.
Do you see a willingness by the United States to be engaged in this? I mean, do you...
well, the United States is already engaged. The Western European allies are engaged. Well, the U.S. is supporting some of the rebel groups, whereas the Arab countries support some other rebel groups. And Turkey, of course, gives refugees a place for camps. There's like 200,000 refugees in Turkey, and Turkey also is coordinating and funding some of these Sunni rebels against the Syrian regime.
Do you see continuation of
It's only going to get worse in terms of the war. In terms of Israel, yes, if Iran and Syria are arming Hezbollah, or if Israelis think that Hezbollah is imminently preparing for an attack, then there may be more military activity. What is interesting to watch is the dynamic between the majority Sunni population of Syria and Israel. Does that mean that a possible future regime of Syria will give up its claim for the Golan Heights? I don't think so. But maybe, just maybe, Israel, by doing what it's doing now, putting sort of a down payment on a better relationship with whoever is going to come to Syria. We don't know who is going to be ruling Syria maybe a year from now. I personally think, and I wrote about that, I think the Assad regime is doomed. I don't think it's going to survive. But if it's not going to go down, it's going to be a very weak regime. It will not be in the position to fight Israel, or for that matter, to fight anybody else. But it is a process now that the regime is killing more and more people in Syria, and the resistance of these militias, which I don't like, they're not some nice Democrats with Western education, of course. These are Islamists, and some of them are with the organizations that are tied to Al-Qaeda, like Al-Nusra is tied to Al-Qaeda. So these are horrible people. So the regime is horrible, Hezbollah is horrible, and the Islamist Sunni militias are pretty dangerous as well.
Do you foresee retaliation by Syria?
No, I do not foresee retaliation by Syria. What I foresee, maybe, if Hezbollah and Iran coordinate that, there may be an attack by Hezbollah against Israel.
How is it this situation is different from 2003 Red Lines story, when the United States actually invaded Iraq, no weapons of mass destruction were found, etc.? Why not now? How this Syria is different from Saddam's Iraq?
Yeah, it's totally different. First of all, in 2003, we're only 2 years after the 9/11 attacks, and Washington and the leadership in Washington, the Bush administration, was very nervous. They were looking to anti-status quo actors in the Middle East. The Saddam regime was saying publicly that they're developing weapons of mass destruction. The Saddam regime was refusing to let the UN inspectors into the country to look at the locations of this alleged weapon development. And the Bush administration was very gung-ho, very eager to go and fight the Iraqis. They viewed Saddam's behavior as unfinished business from Gulf War, from 1991 war, in which U.S. conclusively defeated Saddam, and this was under Bush Sr. administration. Today, President Obama does not want another war in the Middle East. He doesn't want boots on the ground. The maximum I see, and this is also what the Republicans, some Republicans are saying in the Senate, people like Senator McCain, maybe Senator Lindsey Graham, they're saying let's use air power, but not boots on the ground. And Obama really, with all the economic problems here, with trying to cut the military budget, he doesn't want to do that. How can you cut the military budget and start another war in the Middle East? It's crazy, it's impossible. And that's also has a negative context vis-a-vis Iran, because I don't see that Syria is really a threat to the United States, just like I didn't see Libya as a threat to the United States. Iran is a threat to the United States and to our allies, not just Israel, but also Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states. Iran with a nuclear weapon is going to be a different Iran. It's going to be much more aggressive. It'll be bullying its neighbors including allies of the United
So
States.
you're saying that this is a bad message for Tehran?
It's a very bad message. The United States said we have the red lines, and then the Syrians used chemical weapons, granted not in large amounts, but nevertheless, chemical weapons is still considered a sine qua non, something that we don't allow to happen, okay? Those very small amounts of chemical weapons used in the past. One was in 1962 in the war of Egypt in Yemen, and people barely knew about it because it was so far away and the communications were bad. In 1988, Saddam Hussein gassed the Kurds and thousands of people were killed. And now the Syrians apparently are using chemical weapons again. It's a very, very bad thing that the United States should not allow, but at the same time, I understand why President Obama does not want to allow United States troops to go and fight another war in the Middle East.
You don't understand.
No, I understand.
I understand.
Yeah, pretty good. I understand why the United States does not want to start another war in the Middle East.
I don't want to sound hypothetical, but if what happened now, meaning the evidence of weapon of mass destruction, took place in Obama's first presidential term, do you think that the United States would be sending troops, or would be at least interested or considering sending troops to Syria?
I don't know. It really depends what else was going on. We see use of chemical weapons against the background of up to 70,000 civilians killed in Syria. This is a brutal civil war, and the question is, does the United States have a responsibility to protect this civilian population? Some people in the Obama administration say that, yes, the United States has a responsibility, or members of the Security Council of the United Nations, they sort of create this doctrine called responsibility to protect. Other people, sort of the more traditional practitioners of foreign affairs, say it's a tragedy, it's horrible, it shouldn't have happened, but our security, the United States security, is not in danger. We don't have vital interests. We don't have nuclear weapons there, or we don't have energy there. Maybe we should let other Arab countries, the Arab League, or maybe even the Europeans, to take a lead. This is what Obama calls leading from behind. You guys take a lead, and if you need our support, we will provide satellites, we will provide big aircraft, we may provide an aircraft carrier and air power, but no troops on the ground, no American blood, and as little American money as possible, because we're broke.
In other words, you still see United States engage in that war, but it will be using other leverages like Israel, other supporters, trying to silence Turkey and others who may get engaged. Is that your scenario?
Well, first of all, Turkey is making its own decisions here. Turkey does not have an interest in Iran getting stronger in Syria. Turkey does not want the Syrian state to fall apart and have independent or autonomous Kurdistan part of Syria coming up. And Turkey also now, with the neo-Ottoman ideas, thinks that this is their backyard. This is their near abroad, their ближнее зарубежье. So they think they should be able to tell people what to do and call the shots. After all, Syria, the Sham province, was a province of the Ottoman Empire, and there's a very clear claim to be the regional power. Unfortunately, for Turkey, it's not going very well. You know, the slogan, zero problems with neighbors, now became a slogan of no neighbors without problems. So I don't think Mr. Davutoglu and even Mr. Erdogan are doing so well in the neighborhood. Azerbaijan is one of the few countries that still has excellent relationship with Turkey. But secondly, Israel for many, many decades defined what is its vital security. And in the immediate neighborhood, like Hezbollah, like PLO before that, or Hamas, it is the Israeli leadership which makes its decisions and sometimes, of course, lets Washington know, so Washington is not blindsided or surprised, but it's their decisions. And I don't think that the United States can tell Israel if there's somebody who is about to get missiles and is hell-bent on destruction of Israel, that the Israelis will just sit there and do nothing. And the sort of a problematic case, the borderline case, is the case of Iran, because Iran is on the record saying we want to destroy Israel. Iran wants to get nuclear weapons, but the United States very consistently said, leave it to us. We won't allow Iran to become a nuclear power, but don't do it yourself. Don't do the first strike yourself. And I think with the United States taking a step back in Syria, this, as I said, making a very bad signal for Iran.
Mm-hmm. And my last question,
yeah,
the
please.
Turkey-Israel reconciliation, do you think it was a gesture by the United States to take in advance ahead of the Israel's airstrikes?
First of all, when Obama called Erdogan and put Bibi on the phone, the airstrikes had no, there were no planned airstrikes. This is not something that more than a month ago they could have known about. So airstrikes were a quick decision from what I understand. Last Thursday, the decision was made to conduct the airstrikes.
And you were saying the United States learned it from television?
No, I'm saying that Israel make these decisions and let U.S. know so that United States would be not called blindsided or surprised. The Turkish-Israeli rapprochement was on the American agenda for 3 years. And there were attempts by Hillary Clinton, by others, to put the two sides together. The two sides also negotiated, not successfully, but there was an ongoing process between the Turkish senior officials and Israeli senior officials. The problem was at the top. In Turkey, Prime Minister Erdogan resisted rapprochement, and in Israel, Foreign Minister Lieberman resisted rapprochement. With Lieberman gone, with Obama putting some pressure on Turkey, at least the two sides said that they're going to reconcile. Israel apologized. Israel is paying compensation. Israel has not done anything it didn't do with Egypt, for example, when Egyptian border guards were killed by Israelis. But my concern is about, is Turkey really committed to equal relations with Israel? Or, as I read in Turkish newspapers, I was in Istanbul a week ago, they are gloating that Israel is apologizing, Israel is begging, Israel, that they, in their mind, Israel really reduced its power vis-a-vis Turkey. I don't think that's the case. Israel is a nuclear state. It's a pretty strong state with an excellent army and air force. So it didn't need to apologize. It apologized because it felt that it needs a relationship with Turkey. And there are many, many things that Israelis and Turks are worried about. They're worried about Syria. They're worried about how to produce gas in Eastern Mediterranean. Israel is worried about, but the Turks have things to say about it with Cyprus and whatnot. There's a Turkish business community that wants to do more business with Israel, and there's Israeli tourism industry that we're sending 500,000 people to Turkey every year. So there are a lot of things that could be very, very positive and beneficial between the two peoples. Israel and the Palestinian issue are not at the top of the list in Turkey, and both my secular Turkish friends, who are many, and my Islamic Turkish friends are telling me that it's not the #1 priority for them. So hopefully they will learn, even with the dislike or distaste of Mr. Erdogan and Mr. Davutoglu on the personal level vis-a-vis Israel, they will learn how to work together. And I think everybody, including Azerbaijan, are going to benefit from it, because Azerbaijan has its own relationship with Israel, which is very positive, very broad, and it doesn't need Ankara to poke them or ping them and say, don't do this or do that. Baku has enough problems in that area coming from Tehran, and that, of course, even Mr. Obama cannot resolve.
Thank you so much.